So, how do you put air brakes on something that's not made for it? Not too hard. We picked up the rear axle from a truck salvage yard in town. Picked up two treadle pedals that were, actually we picked up three. One regular one like I'm used to, and two of them, I believe they're Williams valves, Williams control. They were used on a garbage truck, where one was used for an auxiliary throttle control and the other was used for brakes. They're identical valves. One of them's, get out of the chair and walk up here. One of them's right there. The other one's on the other side, mounted inside to use. And they both come through a common block right there, which, actually I guess that's just the one that goes to the brake lights. Between the two valves, there's a shuttle valve. Whatever side the pressure comes in from, that's where it goes through. It blocks the other side off, so we didn't have to do any special crap between the two brakes. When it was hydraulic brakes, we had two separate master cylinders and had actually it was a hydraulic diverter valve in the middle that you had to shift, and it'd get stiff. And of course, regular O-rings don't hold up to brake fluids, so you got to put different O-rings in them. And about every 5 or 10 years, take it apart, change the O-rings because they get eat up anyway. And you throw an air compressor on. This is our second compressor. The first one was a little single cylinder. That thing worked, but if you got a slight air leak somewhere, it just didn't keep up. And we do have a slight air leak. I don't know if it's in one of the cans back there, or we did end up throwing another valve back there because it just evens it out. Otherwise it was slamming when you hit the brakes. Kind of like it has in the last couple of videos when it's been really wet out. They've been really touchy. But anyway, this poor thing, unfortunately, the way it turns, and it's a splash oil system, it turns and throws everything to the, you'll see it, the filler. Point you in the right direction. Yeah, we're not looking at the line. We're looking behind the line. I can see it. You can't. Hey, right there. The dipstick used to be clear down there, and I changed it and added on to it. Moved it up here. The problem is when we run it very much, especially where I had to run it up the road to the barn, we find it like this, and everything was kind of oily. It hasn't been cleaned up. It could use it, but anyway, to alleviate that, we just drilled and tapped a hole in the side of the case right here. That case is, I don't even know if it's 1/8 inch thick right there. 1/8 pipe anyway is what we did. And it's in there with Loctite, so hopefully it'll seal. If it doesn't seal, I guess we clean it up good and put some JB welder on the outside and hope it seals. Because there really isn't any pressure on this side. And just a short tube up with a cross hole and a plug with a cotter key in it just for a vent. If it pukes, we're going to know it because the whole thing's going to be full of oil. And this poor girl, we've been getting other things done and haven't been in here for a while. She got an oil change. And I'll be honest, I can't tell you when the last oil change was. I really can't.
It wasn't even written on the thing either.
It's been a long time. Not much I can tell you because this is one of those things that, you go fire it up and you go use it and you shut it off and park it. You make sure when you think about it, especially if you hear a little squeak coming from up there somewhere, you make sure it gets greased. And that's about it. So it did get an oil change. I was told it ran after that, so I wasn't in here when they did it. Because we don't have much control on this compressor, and this is just a regular little, it probably had a 2-horse motor on it or something for a shop compressor. One that a friend of mine had, and we kind of took her apart, went through it together because we couldn't get it to work right. Part of that was it laid for a while, so there was a little bit of crud in the reed valves, and cleaned it all up, put her back together, and had to make a new head gasket for it. But it's been good ever since. It's been running great on here. It puts out way more air than that little single cylinder did. And this one doesn't vibrate itself apart. That little single cylinder was vibrating the end cap off. This one did, however, vibrate quite a bit. We first got it on, and if you notice, the mounting isn't a real big footprint, and the compressor hangs to the back of it. And that thing would be just going like this. Not enough to throw the belt, but enough to throw a vibration through the whole machine. It's like, that ain't gonna last long that way. So it took me a little butt scratching and finally figured out and put the brace on it. It's adjustable at the back.
Did you just say butt scratching?
I did say butt scratching.
Oh, you do that way too often.
Number one's quick.
I'm slower than the second one.
Let's see, what else? Oh, this thing was running pretty cruddy before in a couple videos, and it was pretty low on gas, and this Dad always ran regular unleaded in it, the junk. And it got about 30 gallons of real gas in it, and some stable and, I don't know, 3 or 4 ounces octane boost anyway. And it ran a lot better. I mean, we always just, that needs a tune-up again, and usually put plugs in it. And generally it's plugs because, I said in the video before, this engine come out of a junkyard in 1985. Don't even know what it was in. All we know is it's a small block Chevy. It's either a 305 or a 350. We've never ran the numbers and never had to find out. I know the oil pressure was pretty low, and it seems to be a little better now that it actually has a new filter and some oil, but it's never been overly high. And she's always run on the warm side, which got a lot better after we put that fan on. This thing, this was one of those Johnny Cash mobiles, it was a little bit of everything. 53 Chevy C50 chassis, and God knows what year, small block engine. The turbo 400 transmission in it that came out from behind a 402 big block that I bought from the outfit the week before to put in my service truck at the time. Was out of a 72 or 74 Monte Carlo. The radiator in here is out of a Cadillac, and same as a 500 Caddy is what the radiator was from, and the fan that was on here was off the same car. We had to put the top tank on because, she likes to run a little warm. It's not a blown head gasket or anything. It's just a matter of it's never moving enough. And, you'd run for a week or two in the summer, and then you'd find you didn't have anything left in the radiator. So put the tank on and pretty much don't worry about it anymore. Transmission oil cooler on the front, especially where it's a lot of time in reverse, and it's first in reverse and always at an idle. Do what you can to cool it so it'll hold up. And the tranny's actually held up great. When we bought it, on the way home, we dropped it off at the tranny shop we used to deal with. Best one in town, and they're long gone now. They popped it and says, "Man, that thing's beautiful." Changed the filter, put it back together, filled her up, and said, "Come pick it up." So that's always been good. It's been out twice. The one time it was out, the best tranny outfit around now is the one we're using, and the guy that did it, he usually worked on the newer stuff with the electronics in it, and his partner, the one that always dealt with the old stuff, he wasn't there that week, so we figure he only did it about halfway, because we ended up taking it back in a couple years ago, and his partner owns the whole place to himself now, and he did it. He says, "Yeah, there was some burnt clutches. Looked like they'd been burnt for a long time." It's like, well, yeah, Dave left it that way. So life in the fast lane. Yeah, she's cleaning up
That'd be a problem.
C-clamp that's not very straight. Apparently she's never been around C-clamps a whole lot. I'll tell her how to put that in a vise and straighten it in a little
No,
bit.
it's chewed up on the end too.
Yeah, it's a C-clamp. They get beat up. Oh, what else? Oh yeah. Even when we had that little compressor on here just to be safe, that red thing right there is a pop-off valve. And there's two more underneath just because I wasn't sure how many cubic feet each pop-off valve would do. And they're set right around 120 pounds. One of them pops and it'll make a little noise and shut up, and make a little noise and shut up, and it opens for about a half second and shuts off for about 2 seconds. And then when it gets too much, there's another one that opens up, and it's gotten a little sticky. It don't like to close back down until it gets below 60 pounds. So moving this thing, last time we got hay, taking it up the road, I had to stop twice going up there, and she says 3 times. Whatever it was, I had to stop and get the air down low enough that the damn thing would shut off and let me have some air again. But anyway, I'm hoping we solve the issue with blowing the dipstick out of it. Because, say, the way it is, it throws the oil right up it. I mean, you can't get any better. Venting on this side, it shouldn't be able to throw the oil up into it. And this is on a little angle down into the case, so it shouldn't get oil up in it at all. And if it's creating any crankcase pressure, it's out. And I'm sure it probably is. I mean, it wasn't new. When my friend got it, it was somebody else's scrap. And the air line right there, well, looks like a hydraulic line. That's what we did for the air intake. So it's right out of the engine filter. Saves a little that way. Had to put a bracket on the hose to hold it up off the belt. And yeah, the electric fan, that has been a good thing. One thing it does do though, since we put it on, I think it creates enough juice when it spins down to keep the engine running. So we shut the key off, it'll run for about 3 or 4 seconds. And it's full on running at an idle. It's not like it's dieseling. And I found a couple issues down here. I've had to put some zip ties on those plug wires. The bracket, the clamp was broke and no longer keeping it off the manifold, so that should be good now. That's what I did since we've had it in. And since I mentioned it, we'll show it. There's the other air valve, same valve. It's just this one I put the other direction. It was made so I could, so I did. And cut the pedal off and added the drop to it. The pad is actually what I cut off the pedal, and the drop to it is part of the brackets to hold the openers on a grain drill. We changed all of them out a few years ago and had a whole bunch of that stuff. It's nice 3/8 by 1.25" material. It's really nice material to work with. Air seat on this side, been on here forever. Still self-contained because we never hooked it up to the air system. Still need to do that. The other seat used to sit on the floor, but as Dad got older, he decided he couldn't sit down there, and I never could sit down there very well. It's just a regular torsion bar seat. And I don't know if I showed you everything else before or not. Radio without a microphone because we needed one in a tractor a while back. All the gauges. The way it worked out, I had room for the park brake and for the air gauge right there. The first set of valves does the rotate and the grapple. Those were actually brand new valves. That lever over there is gear shift to use from the other side. That's also on the floor down here. Forward and reverse and the throttle. And that set of valves is off an old Allied loader neighbor had that he thought he set his park brake on his 5000 Ford. Well, whether he set it or not, it didn't hold much. He found it down against a tree with the loader bucket folded up, and insurance called us, says, I'll give us a bid on fixing it. And I laughed. I said, well, we'll give you $100 for what's left of it, which worked out great because we ended up getting the valve and our original jib cylinders out there were the lift cylinders off that old loader, but there's so much pressure on those they couldn't handle it. We blew the seals on them a couple of times and finally ended up breaking the piston onto one and bending the rods, and then we had a set made. And I think this is still the same barrels anyway from the set we had made, but the rods weren't big enough the first time. That's one reason, if you heard this thing run, it makes a lot of noise when I'm moving that out. It's the relief valve going, because it's got to move so much oil in and there's not much moving out, and it just doesn't like to do it. So, you know, hey, look up at the ceiling. There, we can really look up at the ceiling. It's kind of tall in here because you need to be able to see up. I mean, right now this seat's sitting on the floor, but you still got to look up to see things. Well, almost got enough on this one. She's going to take this one down and it's going to go straight in the feeders. This old girl running long enough. I already loaded the little Freightliner and it's parked down in the hay barn at home. This thing actually ran pretty good for that. I think we're finally getting enough decent gas in it. Running up through and making things work better. That and those plug wires I found that were not exactly where they needed to be. Hopefully you can hear me over this noisy thing. No idea how this sounds up here. I'll find out later. I'm only going to put 30 bales on. That's plenty. We usually put like 2 big bales on that little 1 ton. That's enough. Once in a while we'll put 3 if we're real close. Keep in mind these bales weigh about 85 pounds a piece, so 30 of them's plenty going down this hill. Usually we got one customer we deliver something. The girls will come up and put 26 bales on. That gets her a ton or so. You want that over a little farther, or is that good? I don't like the way it looks, but it's just screwed up. That's for the first part of the wagon load. Especially on hill ground, they get it off the ground. And when they get tossed around, they tend to not fit right. They're not square. They'll get racked, or they'll get like that. One part of them are one way, part or another way. And yep, my low air buzzer. They don't go off till over 90 pounds. And it don't go off the other way till it's actually down zero, like it should. She's going to get that one down, and number one, cleaned the feed barn this morning, and got the, I think she got the 2-year-old lot done. She was supposed to anyway. And yeah, water piercer pain, 6 rows, got all that takes a minute. Got the main cowl on clean. You don't quite do it as clean as I do, but saves me having to do it. She can do it. She does a good enough job. As long as she don't scrape the rock, that's the biggest thing. And so I should move this thing in here. We got to switch rigs around.
So if I park this right here, she should have that little one tied down, and she's going to move to the side, and I got to back the trailer in past the door so she can get out. I wish that old barn up here was gone. There's, I don't know, there's a foot or two, a 2-inch rock underneath there and a bunch of garbage in the barn. If it was gone, we'd have room to get around, but it's fun. With this short trailer, I can get in here and get turned around and backed in, but I've done it with a long trailer, but the only way I can do it is I got to go past it into the field, turn around and come back in and then back down here. There ain't no way I can back in from the road the way the driveway is and as narrow as the road is. So I got to back in after I get turned around. So I'll get some more. That's going to be a long video. I think the first half's already 16 minutes and that's just sitting there in the shop. So anyway, there are 10 bales on that grapple in case you can't quite see them. This is just high enough to see out the window, sitting on the dash right beside the mirror in here. So it's working. I'm going to take it. Anyway, time to switch stuff around. I'll get some more. Hey, I'm back. Figured I'd show you the first set going on. Great to still be in touch. Gotta love it. Get about 10 guys together that are good at stacking. They can probably load this quicker than this machine can. But other than that, the only quickest way I know is with a squeeze. If you're not familiar with them, there's a lot of them in Oregon and California. Quite a few in Idaho, Washington. One brand is Roadrunner. They're made down in Cali. And there's Oregon Roadrunner, made in King Falls, I believe. Love to have one. They're actually made for 3-tie bales. They make a block stack, I believe 56 bales in a stack. They do work on these. Especially ours are a 16 by 18 thing. They'll work all right. If we did them flat with a bale wagon instead on edge, they'd work nice. Yeah, I got one I barely got a hold of. I hate that. I don't think I'm going to make it to the truck with it. So, time I go through the hitch of the door, it's going to be a bad thing. Okay, our top set it. Sometimes it gets messed up when you put them in the barn. They'll bounce a little bit when you're unloading. But it's got to get a little nudge. And I missed. That's too bad you can't see that. Oh, push it together a little to fit on the truck better. Won't be loose. Before we put the different axle and the bigger tires on this, we can reach it down a little better. It wasn't as bad. I got to kind of get the gravel so I can reach down. And then pop off valve. I don't mind the one that's going off right now. It's the other one that sometimes I don't like the rotate corners as well. And get in the right spot. Side shift would be nice. But it is what it is. We can turn and swing them pretty good, but if you're coming on an angle when you hit, sometimes that don't always work so well. I don't worry about this too much, but this little bit. 2 bales hanging over here a couple inches. Nah, I can straighten that. Way back when, we actually built 2 of these grapple at the same time. One for us, one for a friend. He had his on an old WD-45 AC with a farmhand high lift loader on it. We had a bunch of hay we were moving, selling to somebody. We just stack in the field with the wagon. And when time permitted, this machine would go to usually a dairy, wherever we were going to haul into, and we'd borrow his tractor. We farmed a lot that wasn't too far from his place, so it wasn't too bad to. He'd usually drive it down there for me, and Dad and I'd go pick him up, take him home. Usually I had old 59 peak cab over that had a 20-foot bed with only had a 22-inch cheater, but it was enough. You could still get 3 blocks. And a 24-foot bull trailer. And he had a 59 peak with a 20-foot bed, no cheater, and a 32-foot bull trailer. So I go sit there on his tractor, load them, load everything up, get it all tied down. Then it didn't take long to run over to the dairy and unload. Run back, get the other truck. I just gotta see. I think I only get 4 bales. Yeah. Maybe I'll turn her the other way and give her a little shove. I don't like it the other way on the bottom because it's too narrow, but it gets that much more on, it gets that much more on. Anyway, I just go get them both unloaded, go load them both back up, and just keep going. Worked out really well. We did that, I don't know, 3 or 4 years anyway. This looks like it's kind of fudged up. Not sure why. Might help if I get on a little farther. I'm going to this side because I'm doing tight here on the other one. And I don't like dealing with tight gears. I will, but I'm not putting the tight gear on the bottom. That is kind of screwed up. I know where this came from. This came off one of the steeper hills. And any of you familiar with the way a bell wagon works, they don't work where the dam on a hill. So this one's got a little bit of modification. It's got the factory optional weight box over the rear axle full of concrete. And I'm not sure it's a factory one. I think it might have been a homemade. It's a little big. You get chaff built up on it and don't let the bed come down right. And the old 1048s, they had the back of the bed on each side to the side of the opening where the push-off seat go out. They had an area on each side that was filled with shot. And by shot, some of you know what I mean. Just scrap metal. They used washer punches and that kind of stuff. Leftovers from manufacturing. it's got the fuel tanks on the right side, right ahead of the tire. So you got weight on that side as long as you got fuel. But the left side would always spin out. And the pickup's on the right side, so that kind of takes weight off the left there anyway. I got a couple pieces of 1.25 inch plate, about 18 inches square. They're welded back there, kind of behind the rear tire on the left. Makes this one get around about like a 1048 with all the weights on it. Before we did it, it didn't get around worth a darn on some of the bills. Yeah, I know, I was going to turn this one the other way. I'm really not into that. I'm going to see if I can weasel it on a little farther. Right there, stay long enough to get the next one. So, alright. I don't want to make a 10-hour video out of this. So, this might be the end of it. That's going to be about 28 minutes probably. You know, I don't like them that long. Anyway, hey, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that stinking bell, hey? That way you always know when I put something up. But seriously, I like it when you hit the subscribe button. I've picked up a few more in the last few days. Merry Christmas to me. Last I saw was 311. I'm liking that. I appreciate that. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you for watching. Not a whole lot left here. There really won't be much left when I'm done today. So I got to figure out how much more hay we're going to need to make it through the grass. See if I can find some, because there really isn't any in this part of the country. Part of the reason I found is a whole bunch of pivots up in eastern Oregon that were all in alfalfa. Yeah, when you take 14,000 acres out of production from alfalfa and you put it into hemp, that's a lot of hay that's not there anymore. And, you know, nobody knew these guys were going to do that. So nobody had a chance to make up for the shortage. And our hay in the valley, the half to 1/3 of the crop. Yeah, there goes that other pop off. I got to wait for it to finish. Now we didn't have anything. There was only 20 bale wagon loads in here, about 3.5 ton per load. And this barn in a normal year is almost clear full if it's not. Usually there's just enough room to weasel the bale wagon in up here to store it. And at home, I got the 50 by 50 area that never got filled with big bales. And the main barn, there's usually about 4,000 or 5,000 small bales in there, and all we had was what we came into it from last year, which wasn't but 100 bales maybe. So anyway, thanks for watching.